Thank you, Mufadal. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a challenge to showcase our journey of 150 years in a mere 50 minutes. And I will rely on slides and script. And those who are more discerning, please go through the slides at leisure. Ceylon tea is a year-round revenue-generating perennial crop grown in all the three elevations of the country. Distinct elevations and agroclimatic variations add special uniqueness and diversity to Ceylon tea. Separate sectors, the state, the corporate, smallholders, and private tea factories consist of our industry. Unique push and pull factors affecting labor migration from South India from 1840s under severe exploitation by Kanganis that required government administrative interventions. Poverty, famine, pandemics, penury, low social status, compelling push factors, while better earnings 3 times the rate in Madras presidency and regular employment were strong pull factors for work in Ceylon. Some of the most progressive labor enactments done in the plantation sector first in Sri Lanka. Rupees 300 billion earnings, of which more than 90% is retained and recirculated within the country. 70% paid out as worker-related costs. More than 10% of our national population dependent on tea plantation economy alone for their sustenance. Most certified and global standards compliant tea industry in the world. Over 800 certificates in the corporate sector alone, which is only 25% of the Sri Lankan tea industry. The industry is dominated by non-corporate sector, having 75% of the cultivated land, leaf production and factories, is truly a multi-stakeholder, local, homegrown and indigenous industry now. Low-grown elevation dominating production and prices. Still, after 150 years, major proportion of our tea is exported as bulk and packets and true value addition close to 10%. In the corporate sector, guaranteed lifetime family employment from 18 years and paying the highest in 45 Sri Lankan wages boards with unmatched facilities, statutory and traditional benefits with total care for the whole community from what we say womb to the tomb. 75% of national green leaf production coming from tea smallholders, and of that 98% of tea smallholdings have less than 1 hectare. And this small land size has severe implications on economics of the tea sector. Land and labor productivity must improve to maintain even short-term economic sustainability. As for wages, within the last 30 years, labor wage has increased by a phenomenal 20-fold by 2021. Wage increases have always massively far outsurpassed inflation rate of the country. From 2002, within 10 years of privatization, wage increase given surpassed the value of a kilo taken at the Colombo tea auctions. With privatization in 1992, labor wage granted was even higher than the cost of production. RPC, that's a corporate sector wages for 100,000 workers, highest in our 45 wages boards, more than the agriculture sector of 2.2 million people and the rural sector of 17 million, representing 77% of the population, and even the textile sector, and comparative tea economies of the world for the lowest outputs resulting in the highest cost of production in the world. By 2021 itself, estate sector household income, as per the HIS survey of the government, has surpassed, incorrectly calculated, overstated, June 22 living wage by 8%. Buyers and consumers must pay a profitable price to support any further increase in wages. Nuarlia district, with the majority of plantation population resident, poverty headcount is lower than the country poverty headcount, as you can see. Only 9 urban districts are better. In 2016, more than 1 month of strike days resulted in poverty headcount getting worse, but still better than more populous and prosperous districts. So it's a self-inflicted increase of poverty. From what you can see here, producers' revenue at auctions less than 10% of the final selling price and profit less than 1%. May I say that all the pain and no gain for the producers. Within 50 years, GDP percentage from tea has dropped from 35% to 1%, reflecting this inequitable value distribution, and highest volume buyers pay around $3, while high value buyers buy only 4%. To improve social status and upward mobility of mostly female workforce, it is imperative to change to a more dynamic and appropriate remuneration model, the revenue share model with flexi time and performance-based pay, but vigorously opposed and strongly resisted by some unions. Despite consistent calls to migrate to a RSM model, no heed is given, and if we persist in this 155-year-old, archaic, outdated, attendance-based model, inevitable, slow and sure death. No other person than Albert Einstein said, doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity. In Sinhala we call it pissu or paithiyam in Tamil. In the company sector, total custodial care and a package of benefits in the full lifetime of the worker and community of 1 million people, of which workers are only 100,000, just 10%. As employees, we are only required to provide safe working conditions and opportunities to earn, and there is no requirement, no law, no statute or mandate compelling us to look after non-workers and their issues. As citizens of the country, it is a responsibility of the state to look after them. Just a snapshot of some facets of the total custodial care provided free of charge to the community, which is not done in any other industry. Total maternal care, total custodial child care provided to our workers and dependent community, which is not done in any other industry. All national health, nutrition programs for the community, training and skill development for staff, and awareness programs conducted to provide more comprehensive utility from the package of benefits. Worker housing. Responsibility for worker housing taken away from management as a precondition at privatization in 1992 and vested with the Housing Development Trust. Free house worth 10 years of gross salary, rupees 3 million now, and land worth millions, given completely free for the workers and non-working community. Already 65,000 new individual houses provided for the current workforce of 100,000, where on average, 2 persons are working on the estate. So do the math and calculate the housing coverage in the plantations. 90% of the population are not contributing to the estate and only 10% are registered workers. Nutrition. Nuarlia district is #1 in dietary energy consumption, well above even Sri Lankan average of 20-30 kilocalories by 12%, beating even paddy growing districts as well, according to the government's own figures. Key health indicators show remarkable improvement since privatization in 1992 and even better than national KPIs now. A list of benefits and facilities given to the workers and non-workers during work life and non-work life, which I believe You all can peruse at leisure if it interests you. Focus on ecosystem conservation, restoration and sustainable forestry, biodiversity conservation activities given pride of place in all our operations. Biological and physical soil conservation and water conservation is an integral part of all agricultural activities taking place on the estates. Total focus, as explained by my colleague earlier, on carbon footprint reduction and energy conservation as an important economic imperative. Safe and timely removal and disposal of all solid waste from estate and domestic operations is an important area of focus because of the 1 million strong resident community living on our estates. Safe removal of used and wastewater from estate and domestic usage with appropriate low-cost methods. Industry challenges: climate change, low labor and land productivity impacting on costs, viability, unaffordable high social costs for ninefold non-working population, political interference and generally reduced pull on agriculture are challenges to immediate sustainability. Personally, since 2008, as an industry for the last 10 years, we have shouted ourselves hoarse about a win-win model for workers. That is to migrate to a revenue share model with flexi time and performance pay like our dynamic 500,000 smallholders, but unfortunately appear to have fallen on deaf ears. Here is some evidence of the advocacy we have done over the last 10 years, and now around 25 to 30% of RPC crop comes in this model. Workers, here's some newspaper articles about workers earning over 5 to 6 times from revenue share model, when normal salary was 18,250 and workers earned over 80,000 rupees in the RSM model in 2018, 6 years back. Further evidence of workers earning over 80 to 100,000 rupees 6 years back. What more proof do you need about the viability of this model? Sustainable future. Workers must be empowered to be autonomous social business entrepreneurs than kept as daily wage-based workers. Though too late, even now we can reset and refix the industry provided the professionals are allowed to do so. Over 150 years, Sri Lankan plantation industry has proven to be resourceful, reliable, resilient, and relevant. And now we are resurgent, as we have proven over and over again. Good examples are COVID period, the financial crisis, the social unrest, and the 30 years war, and the civil uprisings. We have survived through it all. This tells the story about the tea industry. As stakeholders, we already know what to do. It is not the knowledge we lack. What is missing is the courage to understand what we know and to draw conclusions and act on those. If the Sri Lankan tea industry can't be a good example to others, I'm afraid they will surely end up as a horrible warning to others. It was Ayn Rand who said, "You can avoid reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of avoiding reality." So my presentation was, and my intent was to put into context the current realities. And my content was intended deliberately to append inconvenient truths, lazy conceits, and flat-out fabrications, deliberate false narratives, confirmed biases, long-held prejudices, and unquestioned acceptance of cherished myths from the plinth it has hoisted itself, unnoticed by many and tacitly tolerated by some. In conclusion, with all its challenges, vicissitudes, problems, political circuses, the comic relief, acts of lawlessness, man-made debacles and calamities, like the weedicide ban, the agrochemical and fertilizer bans, by God's grace, we shall persist. We will prevail and we will overcome. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle famously quoted, I'm sure you have heard of it. He said that not often is that men have the heart, when their one great industry is withered, to rear up another in its place. And the tea fields of Ceylon are a true monument to courage, as is the Lion of Waterloo. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have been shaken a little, but we have not shifted at all. Poddak salunata vatunne. Thank you very much.